Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight to Tahoe Waterman's Expert Speaker Series. In this monthly series, we present a 1-hour presentation from the leading voices in paddling-related fitness, health, and safety. We're presenting live from Lake Tahoe and here at CrossFit Truckee. We're also broadcasting via Facebook Live. Welcome everybody from Facebook. Thanks for tuning in. And we'd like to introduce you very quickly before we introduce our speaker to Lake Tahoe Waterman Association. For anybody who's tuning in, if you have questions, please feel free to submit them via the comment field on our Facebook page. That's the Lake Tahoe Waterman Association. I'll be taking those questions during the presentation, and then we'll spend some time at the end doing some Q&A. So for those of you who don't know the Tahoe Waterman organization, Lake Tahoe Waterman Association is a 501c3 nonprofit, and our mission is to be a steward of the land and the lake, promote human-powered watercraft, education and safety, and to work with a network of organizations to conserve and protect our playground. That is Lake Tahoe. Through Tahoe Waterman, our team supports a member-driven paddling team. We put on 4 kids paddling camps each summer. We organize 4 paddle races here in Lake Tahoe, and we offer paddle coaching services to athletes all over the western United States. In 2020, this coming summer, we're looking forward to expanding with 2 big announcements. Adult camps, so think adult paddling camps. They precede each of our races. If you're interested, I'll provide you some contact information in just a moment. And one that we're especially proud of is the scholarships for kids camps for youth from underdeveloped communities here in Lake Tahoe. Ensures that our kids paddling camps are available to everybody regardless of their background and economic situation. If you want to learn more about Lake Tahoe Waterman Association, feel free to go ahead and like our Facebook page. You can search for Lake Tahoe Waterman Association and like the page. Leave us a comment, make a post. In any case, get in contact. We'd love to hear from you. Or you can email me directly at jeff@laketahoewaterman.org. So with that, so we're super stoked tonight to introduce our speaker. His name is Scott Estrada. He's a certified nutrition consultant. He's been coaching and consulting in the field of human performance for over 25 years. He is the health and nutrition coach for Standup Paddler magazine. Tonight, Scott is presenting 3 pillars of performance. It's a look at science's 3 practical fundamentals of human performance that keep you, the paddling athlete, competing effectively while living in a world of modern stressors. With that, Scott, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. Appreciate that. Wow, this is hello Facebook land. This is such a trip for me. This is a first, I got to say. So my challenge tonight is going to be to stand here and be still. Because if anybody that knows me, that is not. I like to walk around and kind of feel animated. So bear with me. I'm going to actually apologize to you guys online if my face leaves this screen. So. But I'm super stoked to be here. And actually, Truckee kind of feels more like home to me than down in the valley in Sacramento sometimes, just because the great friends I've made up here and all the great events and adventure sports and paddle sports that we've done and racing and everything up here. It's just been a great community of people, and I love it up here. So let's just get to it, because our time is short, and we've got a lot to cover. And, like Jeff said, the fundamentals is the key word here. It is... I think a lot of times, especially in nutrition and fitness and wellness and lifestyle, especially online, there's just so much misinformation, just overwhelming information. A lot of it ends up being misinformation. It kind of spins a lot of people out. And that's a feedback that I get a lot of times from clients and just in the community of like, what do I believe? What's the right choice? And everybody starts spinning. It becomes really, really overwhelming and confusing for a lot of us that are just trying to live a healthier, better life and perform better, right? And everybody's on different trajectories of their own health journey. I mean, a lot of us have had illness in various forms. A lot of us have had injuries and all kinds of different stressors that have come in. So we're all in different places. So when I look at this, I kind of take a bigger picture approach and say, what are the fundamentals? What are the things that we've gotten away from that really, really plug in and give us results that in a way, we've gotten so smart that we've gotten stupid in a way where we've missed what's right in front of us, and we're chasing some carrot out there, whether it be in a potion or a bottle or this diet or that routine, and everything's gotten kind of like, you've heard the word nutritionism ever? It's a little bit like a religion in a way. We've gotten so centric on these little nuances, and it's like, what about the bigger picture? How does it all connect? So we're going to talk about some of my favorite pillars of fundamentals, and number one is being mineralization, being water, hydration, right? We all know we need to hydrate, but what does that really mean? Like growing up for me, and I didn't come from a hippie family, I didn't come from a performance background where I had coaches, really specialized coaches like there are today, showing us, the ins and outs of how to perform better. It was kind of trial and error for a lot of us. My dad was an amazing athlete, but he didn't know anything about training. He was just really, really gifted, and we kind of grew up in a family where you just play really hard and put your time in on the court, and that was how we did it. And there was no emphasis on nutrition or hydration. It was just like, sure, we drink water, but that was like out of a garden hose. There was no emphasis on filtration or any of that. It wasn't even a concern. So as I started to kind of learn and study natural medicine up in the Northwest, where I'm from, the Seattle area, and start to connect some of these dots to sourcing matters. And it matters in food, it matters in nutrition, but it also matters when we think about water. And when it comes to hydration, all water is definitely not the same. Now, a lot of you have had your experience with this. I mean, what comes out of the tap here in the Truckee Tahoe area is pretty good, considering other areas, I gotta say. If I'm gonna drink some tap water, it's gonna be more up in this area. But you get down in the valley, you get into more urban areas where there's a lot of concentration and chemicalization. It's a total Russian roulette, and what comes out of there. So this has been the driver of a lot of the marketing and a lot of the industry around bottled water. But even that, now we've got plastic bottles, now we've got chemicalization coming in through the xenoestrogens, through the plastic material and all that stuff that are, endocrine disruptors and all these things. So yes, source matters with your water. So number one is always source the best water you can. And I'm not here to talk about filters and all that. If you want some of that, we can definitely dive deep afterwards. And for those of you that are here, and even those of you online, I think you're going to get my little ebook on life hacks. So a lot of that information will be in there. But when you think about hydration, what have we been told? We've been told drink half your weight in ounces, right? That's a pretty common thing, right? Take your weight, cut it in half, drink in ounces. But what really is going on with hydration, it's not the amount of water you drink, it's how much minerals, it's how much electricity is actually getting into the cell, right? What is actually getting in there, and what's the mechanism that's happening? Because a lot of the water out there, even the stuff that we're buying on a maybe more expensive level in bottles, that's alkalized or mineralized or that, how do we really know? How do we really know? And why aren't we doing it ourselves? So I'll take you back where I learned about this, which is I got an opportunity early in my career to study where there's no disease on the earth, where there's just places that haven't been super industrialized and the chemicalization isn't there like we see in the West, where it's still more tribal in a lot of ways. The people are living in more units and small communities where they're connected to nature, they're connected to the soil, clean water sources, clean air sources, they're growing their own food, right? The way of life and their lifestyle involves movement, right? So it's not what we know is kind of there's times to work out and there's times to not. It's just built into their life. And so when we started to study this, and we saw, imagine a 90-year-old or an 80-year-old person with no cavities in their teeth, no decay, incredible bone structure, incredible mental facilities, incredible strength, energy, no obesity. What's happening there? Comparing it to the people of the West. And you started deducting all this information down, and it came down to two things. One was the level of minerals and mineralization in their blood and their tissues. And two, compared to the people of the West, which was very low, was the level of toxemia. We didn't see a lot of buildup of toxemia like we do here in the West, right? So where we get a little overwhelmed and our livers and kidneys and all these functions in the body do a pretty decent job of filtering and cleansing on a 24-hour basis, they get overwhelmed here with the amount of chemicals. I mean, there's 80 to 90,000 chemicals in our environment that weren't there just 60 years ago. And to think that that's not coming through you and we're just naive. It's absolutely coming through us, right? Now, to what degree depends on what your exposure is, what your sensitivities are, and that's individual according to each person. But to the fact that minerals were so high in these places, and we started to see this, then it started to make sense to me that the chemical or the periodic table of elements in chemistry class is really what a human being is. We're just a mini ocean. So where does that mineralization show up in our culture, in environment? In the ocean. When you remove the sodium from ocean water, what you're left with is the same mineral matrix as a human being. So if I was to take you and squeeze you like a lemon, 11 gallons of ocean water, electrified ocean water, mineral matrix comes out of a human. That's what we are. Now, it's not in the liquid state that we would think in like one of our water bottles, right? It's more in a gel state, and we're not going to dive into that. That's a whole nother dive that, but the bottom line is that water has a certain integrity and capacity to do numerous things. But on a hydration level, it's about the minerals in that water that get into the cell. So when the water is charged and structured with minerals, it has intelligence, you're putting those minerals back into the cell. That's what's actually creating true hydration, right? It's not the amount of water you drink. And sometimes you'll see this when you drink large amounts of water, it kind of bypasses and you're peeing it out and it's real clear. We've also heard that, right? You should pee clear. In my mind, in my belief, that's another myth that just kind of got carried on over the decades and no one really questioned it, right? But when you're drinking water that's charged with minerals and has some structure to it, has some intelligence to it, and you put that in your body, you're going to pee less. And your pee is probably going to be a little more yellow tinted. And I think that's healthier, right? So these are things that we started to question. And when you look at the levels of minerals in indigenous cultures, they're so much more higher. Because we're a blend of those 84 minerals on that periodic table of elements. Now, we're not here to go through all those, but I will highlight a couple, okay? We know we need sodium, we know we need potassium. That's a big key for electrolytes. But there's also what I like to call the conductor of the orchestra is magnesium. 6% of the ocean water is magnesium. Now, back in the day before there was the chemicalization in our culture, there used to be magnesium all over the soil. There used to be, and then it would get into our food supply, and a lot of it would come through the food supply. And there would be magnesium bicarbonate, which is an incredible form to absorb, transdermally through the skin. And that would come through our waterways, our creeks, our rivers, our lakes that we would swim in and bathe in and recreate in, and that would come in. And in like hot springs, and some of you have gone to hot springs and you've experienced some of the high levels of minerals, and they vary from place to place. But still, that's another way to get it in. But that's changed now. With the level of chemicalization that we see now in our culture, the magnesium and a lot of the minerals, natural minerals that are in the soil just aren't there to the level that they used to be. And maybe you've heard that maybe an orange today or a tomato today, you'd have to eat maybe 4 or 5 to equal the nutrition of maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago, right? The concentration level, so the nutrient density just isn't there. And that gets into the soil, and we'll talk about that in a minute as we transition from this topic on minerals. But as we started to understand this and the value of magnesium as being kind of that conductor, we started to see that 42% of the body's enzymes run or are affected by magnesium levels. Now think about that. There's over 9,000 enzymes in the body. That's over 4,500, or almost close to 4,500 enzyme functions. Think of them like light switches that aren't turning on and off if you don't have enough magnesium in your body, right? Now, you would think, well, where do we get magnesium from? Can you just go buy that and take that in a pill? Sure, you could, but is that the optimal way? Is that how we're designed to get it in? In my mind, no. That's synthetic. And a lot of it is you're going to get it through your GI tract, but are you actually going to raise those levels in the cell? And so there's a lot of magnesium deficiency. Now think about magnesium being the great relaxer mineral. So if when your heart beats, it's potassium to squeeze the heart, magnesium to release it. Right? Potassium to squeeze it, magnesium every time your heart beats. Just sitting here just a few minutes, that's happened dozens of times. And it will continue until you take your very last breath. You need a little bit of each of those minerals. So every single mineral on that periodic table has a function. Even things like gold, tin, mercury, nickel, all these elements, arsenic, for instance. You would think, well, arsenic, that's kind of poisonous. Yes, but it's there by design. Nature, God put it there for a reason, in the exact amount that's needed. In fact, if you didn't have enough arsenic in your blood, you would suffer from dwarfism. Your body wouldn't grow. Every single mineral has a function, and they all work together, right? You need every single one of them. So now I don't know about you, but when I was raised, and I wasn't raised by any means on a clean diet, it was a lot of processed food, a lot of commercial dairy, a lot of sugary cereals, and on my cereal boxes, it was always the 12 essential minerals and vitamins. You ever see that on your, but we need them all. That was just marketing, right? And you'd see that, and maybe that would be the thing to, oh yeah, that's more nutritious, let's buy that. And those are the little tools that have just kind of got passed on from generation to generation. But we need all of them. And magnesium's a big one. And we see that deficient in the soil today at a big, big level. And it affects the way not only our muscles work, but all those enzymes that I mentioned, but also mentally what is going on. Right? There's a big spectrum of mental illness that's happening. A lot of that's driven through connecting of the dots and through the gut health, which we're going to talk about. But also, if we had more magnesium in our intake on a cultural level, we would see probably a lot less mental illness happen, anxiety, depression, all these things, right? Restless leg syndrome, all these are affected through situations of low mineralization, especially magnesium. So when we started to connect these dots, I started to see, well, how do we teach people this connection? So what I thought is, if we did a demo with electricity, because we're electrical before we're chemical, the human being is electrical before chemical. And the integrity and the quality of your own electricity is driven through the minerals that are running through your body. But how do we teach you that, right? So I have a little demo set up here. So now, Jeff, are you going to, Facebook land, sorry, we're going to tilt this a little bit so you can catch this little demo. Yep. I can. So what I've got here, guys, is I've got just a simple electrical outlet plugged into the wall with a simple hot wire and a ground wire. When I touch these two wires together, I have a light bulb that lights. That's just like your body, right? And that's how we should all feel, or we want to feel anyway. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got just simple, really ultra pure, incredible water. And would somebody like to be a third hand for me and come up and maybe pour this? Would anybody like to come? Jay? Awesome. So that's open. So what we have here, guys, is a liquid mineral, ionic mineral. These are concentrated ocean minerals. And this particular source is from the Great Barrier Reef down in that part of the world. And Jay's just going to put a drop into this electrical, which is really your body. This is a water. There it is right there. And you can see instant electricity, instant conductivity. And these electrodes, I don't know if you can get a camera in there, but there's like a ½ inch between those two electrodes. So they're not touching, right? But what's making that light bulb light? It's the minerals conducting the electricity, taking that charge and those electrons from one to the next, right through that water, just like it should in our bodies. But if we're lacking, we don't light up. Does that make sense? So over here, we've got just regular water with no minerals, no lighting. Over here, we've got that. Now the magic of that is, and then Jay, if you want to swap out for this little sea salt, we'll do the same thing with sea salt. This, if we came back 1,000 years from now, this would still light. It would never extinguish because energy never destroys. It just transfers form from one to the next, right? So Jay's going to put a little bit of Celtic sea salt, which has got the same, came from the ocean, right? In the same water supply. Now it might take there might be a little delay. But yeah, there it is. So there it is. You got instant conductivity, right? Not to the level of concentration in the ocean minerals, which you can see how much brighter that is, right? But still, it's there, right? That's way different than you using Morton's iodized table salt that's been washed, right? It's the full mineral spectrum. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. So, thanks, Jeff. So that little demo right there is just to show you the power of mineralization. And I can tell you that since I learned that and got access to some really good ocean minerals or sea salt, I've been doing that for the most part every day for the last maybe 27, 28 years. And that's been a big reason why I've been able to sustain a level of energy, focus, resiliency. But there's nothing special about me. I'm no different than you. We're all made the same. I just maybe got a little bit of a head start. But you could do that right now and start putting little pinches of sea salt, and I'll give you the link for the minerals, in your water supply. And now you're charging your water. You're charging it. You're totally electrifying that water and structuring it and giving it back some coherence. Now think about the water that comes out of our tap. Water in nature doesn't go in straight lines. Can you agree? It's all over the place. Look at the creeks. Look at the rivers. There's a meandering effect. That's the intelligence of nature doing its thing, structuring that water, rubbing off on the granite rocks, collecting minerals, working its way down, and it's got coherence to it. It's got a structure to it. But what do? We store it behind dams, and we run it through big holding tanks, and we run it through miles of pipe in 90-degree corners. Life isn't 90 degrees. It's not linear. It spirals, right? It spirals. We need that back. That's the vortex. So when you start drinking that water, everything starts to change. Your hydration levels start to increase. Your recovery levels are quicker. You're more resilient. Your brain starts to turn on. Now you're really getting hydrated. I would argue that most people in today's culture in the United States probably haven't drank true, ultra clean, structured, pure Vortex mineralized water ever in their life. And the difference is night and day. And once you start doing that, you start really infusing the cells with the capacity to respirate and to create energy and ATP and all the mitochondrial functions in the cell that occur to make you more resilient on every level and to really up that level of communication in the cell. All right, so hydration is not just about water, it's the sourcing. It's the sourcing. And we can get into, when I send out these links, you guys are going to get links on my best filters that you can get out there. And there's some really amazing developments that have been made in the world of water filtration that can be done in a home use, and it goes way beyond anything you can buy. This water right here I'm drinking from Pristine Hydro is from a dude down in San Diego that's got a 10-stage system that vortexes the water and puts bicarbonate salts back into the water. That magnesium bicarbonate I was telling you about, he puts that back in this water, and now you start drinking it, and now your magnesium levels really start to rise. So huge, huge difference. If you want to perform well, recover well, hydrate well, you've got the best water. So